Hello guys, welcome back to episode 2 of the M7R build. So as I said in the first episode, I'm shooting to try to help out beginners on some of the basics of RC helicopters and building techniques. Here are the 2 steps we're going to be working on today. All the parts are clearly illustrated, screw and bearing sizes are shown, also thread locker icons and any special notation icon is also shown in the diagram. This photograph shows how the parts are packaged. So first thing I want to stress here is you should always test fit all your parts before you take and Loctite them into place. So before I did the section you're about to watch, I did test fit all the parts, which came together very well except for 2 pieces, the bearings going into the main shaft tube. One fit fairly tight, was able to put in place, and the other one I required heat on the tube to open it up enough to place it in, and then I put the Loctite on the bearing and then placed it in. You won't see it in the video, but I took a hair dryer, warmed up the one part of the tube so the aluminum would expand and the bearing would fit in. Okay, you're going to see me struggling here with these little tiny lock nuts. And next section you see I'm going to use a 1.5 millimeter driver. I'll slip the nuts up onto the driver, and then I will slip them into the slots they have to go into. Everything's been test fitted, so we're moving on to thread locking our parts together. So you're going to see a blue thread locker and a green thread locker. The blue is for Loctiting your screws to any metal parts. Do not use it on plastic parts as it'll deteriorate. The green thread locker is used to retain the bearing in that tube we talked about earlier. And note, you don't need to overdo the thread locker to keep the screws from backing out. Okay, we're coming up on the part I was talking about, running the lock nuts up the 1.5 millimeter driver to guide the parts into place. So you're going to see that coming up right here. Okay, we're going to speed up the video here to keep it moving along. I'm going to put up a link to a YouTube site up above in the black box here. I don't know if it'll actually link, but it gives you an address, and it's a really good video on how to use thread locker. The guy uses a clear piece of Lexan to show you how the thread lock reacts as it's going into a threaded hole. So it's not a bad video to watch. I think it's about 5 minutes. So take and watch it. It's a really good video. Okay, on this section we're adding the upper frames to the assembly we just built. If you notice in the video, we're building on a sheet of glass. You can see the edge at the top of the video. So the reason we need the glass, once we have this assembly together, we're going to have the screws a little bit loose. We're going to set the frames bottom side down, and then we're going to have the frames level and then tighten the screws up. At that point we can check for the frames that make sure they're level. Then we'll remove one screw at a time and apply thread locker to it so it'll remain level. Okay, we're going to speed this up until we get to the point where we're going to level it out on the glass. We now got the assembly all together. We have the screws remaining just slightly loose. So then what we're going to do, we're going to face this up onto the glass. We're going to apply a slight pressure and then tighten each screw. So here we go, we're going to apply the pressure, tighten each screw, and then we can check for level once we get them all tight. I'll check it by rocking it back and forth, making sure it doesn't lift off the glass, and then we'll go into the Loctite phase. Okay, all the screws are tight. We're just going to give it a quick check, make sure it's level, and then we can move on to the thread locking. Now we're going to remove one screw at a time, and we're going to apply thread locker to the inside of the hole, not onto the screw, because if you put it onto the screw, it won't go all the way to the bottom of the hole. The reason is the air has to escape from the hole, and it pushes the Loctite back up. If you watch the video I suggested earlier, you'll see a great example of what I'm talking about. Okay, we're going to speed this up a bit, but if you watch real careful, you're going to see a little blue pipette that I used to apply the thread locker into the hole. So there's the same pipettes that you get for using for cyanoacrylic glue, commonly known as super glue. One other thing, I gotta apologize, I keep interchanging thread locker and Loctite together. They're both basically the same thing. It's kind of like tissue and Kleenex, so my mistake. I'll try to maintain thread locker throughout the rest of the videos. Okay, lessons on this video are: always test fit your parts before applying thread locker. Always make sure you don't over apply thread locker and apply it properly. Don't apply thread locker to plastic or you'll destroy it. And also, building frames on a piece of glass, you'll get a proper alignment. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video.